Dear my souls, the clock has started ticking. The legal apparatus, the very one once distorted and manipulated to silence you, has now awakened with divine precision. And this time, it's not coming for the innocent. It's coming for those who played gods in a system they thought they owned. The same maze of bureaucracy they used to entrap you is now wrapping around their own ankles like shackles. In 7 days or less, they will feel the cold, undeniable truth pressed into their palms. Legal documents bearing the weight of justice. They thought they were untouchable. They mocked your cries for help. They twisted policies, falsified narratives, and dared to weaponize the very institutions built to protect. They believed their connections, influence, and arrogance would shield them. But how foolish it is to think that man can outmaneuver divine law. What they failed to realize is that God never sleeps. And now, with stunning accuracy, their judgment has been signed, not in rage, but in righteousness. And before we go any further, I want to take a moment to say this. To every beautiful soul who has supported this truth through Super Thanks, thank you. Your support doesn't just keep this message alive, it helps this revelation reach thousands of others who are still trapped in confusion, waiting for confirmation of what they already sense in their spirit. And whether you've donated or not, please know this. I see you. I value you. I am deeply, sincerely grateful you're here. Now, as we prepare to uncover exactly how this divine reversal is unfolding, I want you to drop 777 in the comments right now if you're ready to see the justice system move on your behalf. Not later. Now. Because what's coming next is not speculation, it's declaration. The very hands that filed the lies will now be forced to sign their own accountability. The ones who smiled while sabotaging you will soon be too stunned to speak, and the silence they tried to bury you in. It's about to be shattered by the sound of court-ordered truth. Let's talk about what's really happening behind the scenes, and why the system is now bending in your favor with unstoppable force. God's chosen ones, your real family, is actually super rich. Chosen one, there has always been something flowing through you that the world couldn't define. An energy that didn't come from your environment, your upbringing, or your bloodline. It was already alive within you even before you had words for it. Have you ever wondered why you could sense things before they happened? Why you could see through people while others stayed blind? That wasn't coincidence. It was legacy. You were born into a spiritual lineage not of this earth, a family whose wealth isn't counted in dollars, but in divine power, insight, and heavenly authority. Your real family is rich, chosen one. They are sons and daughters of the kingdom, and their inheritance runs through your veins. Even before you understood what you carried, your enemies did. They saw the flicker of divine intelligence inside you and responded with hostility cloaked in subtlety. Their attempts to isolate and suppress you weren't random. Why would they target someone they don't perceive as a threat? The truth is, they recognized the light long before you claimed it. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. Your light exposes what they have desperately tried to keep hidden. And just like moths recklessly rush into flames, those controlled by darkness are drawn to your fire, not to celebrate it, but to destroy it. But what they didn't realize is this. Your fire was never lit by man. It was inherited from a realm where the streets are paved with gold and wisdom is the currency of kings. Could it be, chosen one, that the attacks against you are the loudest confirmation of the royalty you come from? Ask yourself, why did they always feel the need to limit you, contain you, sabotage you? It's not because you were weak. It's because your very presence disrupted the reality they had carefully constructed. Their world is a fragile illusion. Yours is built on eternal truth. You were never meant to blend in. You were sent to transform. Remember the exact season when everything started to shift. At first it felt like confusion. People you trusted grew cold without reason. Friendships dissolved, and doors that once opened with ease suddenly stayed shut. But what if I told you that none of it was random? What if the isolation was never a punishment, but a divine protection? What if it wasn't rejection? It was redirection. Joseph knew something about that. Thrown into a pit by his own brothers, he could have mistaken their betrayal for defeat. But Genesis 50:20 reminds us of something powerful. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. The lies they whispered about you, the sabotage they planned behind your back, the fake supporters who turned to gatekeepers, every bit of it was used by God to carve out a higher calling. Chosen one, they built invisible walls around you, hoping to suffocate your purpose. And yet, here you are, still standing, still rising. Like David, who was overlooked by men, but handpicked by God, you've been positioned for elevation. When others saw just a shepherd boy, God saw a king. 1 Samuel 16:7. Those locked doors weren't signs of failure, they were markers of refinement. You weren't being forgotten, you were being prepared for a table they wouldn't be allowed to sit at. Think about Oprah Winfrey, who was fired from her early job because she was unfit for television, or Tyler Perry, who was homeless while trying to stage his first plays, or Viola Davis, who grew up in poverty and hunger but rose to be one of the most respected voices in Hollywood. What do they all have in common? Their greatness was forged in isolation. Their real inheritance didn't come from a bank. It came from a divine assignment that the world had no choice but to recognize. And the same is true for you, chosen one. The fortress they tried to build around your destiny has become the gym where your spirit trained for war. The pressure that was supposed to break you became the force that forged you into something unshakable. Romans 8:18 declares, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. Yes, glory, not just survival, not just healing, but glory. The wealth of your real family being revealed through you. It was never about the earthly family that failed to understand you. It was about your spiritual bloodline, your real family, those seated in heavenly places, cheering you on from realms unseen. You are connected to Abraham, whose descendants outnumber the stars, Genesis 15:5, to Esther, who was placed in the palace for such a time as this, Esther 4:14, to Jesus himself, who endured rejection and betrayal to redeem the world. This is your lineage. This is your inheritance. So when you feel alone, misunderstood, or out of place, I want you to ask yourself, am I being separated or selected? Because chosen one, your separation wasn't abandonment. It was divine adoption into a royal family richer than any dynasty on earth. And they've been waiting for you to realize who you are, not just what you've survived, but what you're about to unlock. You are not just enduring this journey, you are activating a throne. You are awakening a bloodline. You are reclaiming an inheritance that's been spiritually sealed just for you. And now that the fire has forged you, the real wealth, true spiritual, emotional, and yes, material abundance is coming. Because your real family, they lack nothing. And as their chosen child, neither will you. Chosen one, you may not have realized it, but nothing that has ever happened to you has gone unnoticed in the higher realms. Every betrayal, every lie, every setup, they were all recorded in a system far more precise than any earthly archive. This isn't wishful thinking. This is cosmic truth. You are part of a divine family whose roots stretch beyond time and space. And that family has its own justice system, a system that never forgets, never sleeps, and never fails to act. Have you ever wondered if there was a higher order keeping track of the imbalance? Why some people seem to walk away with no consequences while you are left with the pain? Let me tell you something. The silence of heaven is not the absence of justice. It is often the preparation for divine recompense. Hebrews 10:30 declares, "For we know him who said, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay.'" You may not have raised your voice, you may not have fought back, but your real family did. And their wealth is not just in gold, it is in their ability to uphold justice on a scale beyond comprehension. Think of it like this: the moment they acted against you, they triggered something irreversible in the realm of cause and effect. Like a pendulum swung by force, every evil action they took against you moved it farther from center, and now it must swing back. This isn't karma, this is divine law. This is the mathematics of God's universe at work. Galatians 6:7 warns us, "Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." The debt created by their actions toward you has been compounding interest. And chosen one, the universe always collects. And what if I told you that the very system they tried to use to keep you small is the system that will bring about their collapse? Think back. Every scheme, every whisper campaign, every resource they poured into slowing you down, it all cost energy. And in this universe, energy cannot be destroyed. It must be returned, accounted for, balanced. That's the law. That's how gravity works. That's how justice works. They thought they were in control, but the tools they used to harm you were governed by laws they cannot override. Job 34:11 tells us plainly, "He repays everyone for what they have done. He brings on them what their conduct deserves." History is full of moments where the unseen justice of God swept in like a flood. Do you remember the story of Haman and Mordecai in the book of Esther? Haman built gallows for Mordecai, convinced he had the power to destroy God's chosen. But the very structure he built to harm the righteous was used for his own downfall. Esther 7:10. That's divine reversal. That's the justice of your heavenly bloodline in motion. You've likely heard of people in real life who rose after injustice crushed them. Consider Serena Williams, a woman who endured racism, mockery, and attempts to write her off, but whose dignity and discipline crowned her one of the greatest athletes of all time. Or consider Brandon Stanton, the creator of Humans of New York, who was laid off from a finance job. He could have disappeared. Instead, he turned his quiet failure into a global platform that healed millions. And then there's Chadwick Boseman. For years, he battled cancer privately while giving the world a king on screen. The very suffering others never saw became the legacy that will outlive centuries. Chosen one, what does this tell you? It tells you that the universe is rigged in your favor when you belong to the divine. Every ounce of effort that was made to break you becomes spiritual credit in your family's account. And your family, the real one, not the one of DNA but of divine inheritance, they don't let debts go unpaid. They don't tolerate imbalance. They don't ignore the scales. They intervene. You may feel like you've suffered in silence, but the courtroom of heaven has been in session on your behalf for longer than you realize. The gavel is about to fall. The sentence is about to be delivered, because the law of restoration is now in effect. Joel 2:25 promises, "I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten." That means the time you lost, the opportunities they stole, the doors they locked, the blessings they blocked. It's all coming back with interest. This isn't about vengeance, it's about balance. It's about the dignity of your soul being acknowledged by the very fabric of the universe. They believed their power exempted them from consequence. But chosen one, no one is above divine law. Not kings, not presidents, not corporations, not demons in disguise, because the master of all systems, the one who wrote the code of gravity and time, is also your Father. So if you're wondering whether the tables will turn, let me be clear, they're already turning. You don't have to force it. You don't have to chase it. You just need to remain aligned. Stay in position. Stay ready. Because the rebalancing of your story isn't pending. It's in motion. And when the swing returns, it won't just restore you. It will elevate you. You are not just a casualty of injustice. You are the proof that justice is real. And the wealth of your family, your real family, is not just seen in palaces and prosperity. It's seen in the way the entire cosmos bends to protect one of their own. Chosen one. Have you ever noticed how the universe speaks in patterns? It doesn't rush, and it never stutters. It flows in cycles, in divine repetitions, in sacred rhythms, etched into the very fabric of creation. And if you've been wondering when your breakthrough will come, if you've been crying out for justice, clarity, or vindication, listen closely. Your timeline is not random. It's encoded into a rhythm older than civilization itself. And that rhythm is ruled by the number 7. Why does 7 hold so much weight in the spiritual world? Because your real family, the divine one you're descended from, is governed not by chaos, but by holy design. Genesis tells us that God created the earth in 6 days and rested on the 7th, Genesis 2:2. This was not just a story, it was a template, a blueprint, a cycle of activation, transformation, and restoration. You, chosen one, are now standing at the threshold of your own 7th day moment. All throughout creation, 7 reigns supreme. The moon completes its phases in 4 cycles of 7. The rainbow manifests in 7 colors. Musical harmony arises from 7 notes. Even your body renews many of its systems in 7-year cycles. Could it be that your current transformation is not late? It's right on divine time. Could the delay you've experienced not be denial, but preparation for this exact cosmic moment? You don't need to force it. You don't need to beg for it. The vindication that is coming to you doesn't arise from human mercy. It emerges from universal law. It's coded into the system, designed to operate regardless of your awareness. Psalm 31:15 says, "My times are in your hands." That means your restoration has a spiritual timestamp. And chosen one, the clock has struck. This 7-day window you're entering now is not a metaphor. It's a sacred convergence. During this time, things will shift from idea to evidence, from vision to validation. Have you ever waited so long for proof that you began to question whether what you sensed was real? That moment of doubt ends here. The records are coming, the emails are surfacing, the phone calls, the lost files, the surveillance data, the missing texts. They're all about to appear. Why? Because they have to. God doesn't just heal by whispering peace over your heart. He also heals by bringing truth to light. Luke 8:17 reminds us, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open." The time of concealment is over, and what's coming into the open isn't just meant to console you, it's meant to correct the scales. Remember when Nelson Mandela emerged from prison after 27 years? His release wasn't just emotional closure, it was the tangible manifestation of justice that had been long overdue. The prison gates didn't just open for him, they opened for an entire nation. Or take the case of the Central Park 5. 5 innocent boys wrongfully convicted and imprisoned, their names dragged through the media. Years later, the real evidence surfaced, and so did their multi-million-dollar settlement. Their vindication didn't come because the world was kind. It came because truth is a force no lie can permanently suppress. Chosen one, you are part of this divine unfolding. Your family, your real spiritual family, doesn't deal in delays without purpose. They wait for convergence, for alignment, for divine precision. And now that all the pieces are in place, the unseen must become visible. What they denied, they will have to acknowledge. What they buried, they will be forced to unearth. And what they silenced will speak louder than ever. Don't mistake this moment for coincidence. The system you are part of operates on sacred law. This isn't emotional fluff, it's energetic reality. The ledger is open, the timing is ripe, the manifestation is here. Romans 13:11 declares, "And do this, understanding the present time. The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because your salvation is nearer now than when we first believed." Your season of waiting is transitioning into a season of walking in what's already been prepared for you. Do you feel it, chosen one? That quickening in your spirit, that knowing in your gut? It's not imagination, it's spiritual resonance. Your family in heaven, the same family that orchestrated creation, that aligned the stars, that parted the Red Sea for Moses and shut the lions' mouths for Daniel, they are working now on your behalf, and they lack nothing. They own the cattle on 1,000 hills, Psalm 50 verse 10. They possess both the secrets of the universe and the resources of nations. So when your breakthrough begins to take form in the days ahead, don't be surprised. Be expectant. Don't question the sudden acceleration. Embrace it. This is what happens when divine timing collides with divine inheritance. Your real family doesn't just promise, they deliver. And what's coming to you now is undeniable, documented, and divinely overdue. This is your moment in the cycle of 7. The pendulum has returned, the books are being opened, and the weight of your inheritance is shifting from spirit into substance, because your real family is super rich and they've decided it's time you receive your portion. Chosen one, have you ever felt like the world saw a version of you that didn't even exist? Like no matter how clear your intentions were, people kept interpreting your silence as guilt, your insight as madness, and your strength as a threat. Why do they need to distort your image so badly? Could it be because they've always known your truth would undo their illusion? You see, your enemies didn't attack you directly. They weaponized perception. They didn't just lie about you. They created entire narratives to turn others against you. They became architects of mirrors, building reflective traps to twist your light into shadows. And when others looked into those mirrors, they didn't see you. They saw a carefully engineered distortion designed to mask your divine inheritance. But what happens when the mirror turns? Have you ever wondered why certain truths are surfacing now? Why the very people who once accused you are now being exposed by their own words and actions? That's no coincidence. That's divine symmetry. As Ecclesiastes 12:14 reveals, "For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil." They spent so much time manipulating how others saw you that they forgot the mirror they used also captured them. Now the image is beginning to shift. The reflection they created to discredit you is now revealing their own corruption, because the mirror always works both ways. What if I told you the entire system they used to control your story is now acting like an immune response? What if everything they built to contain you, courts, institutions, whisper campaigns, digital archives, is now cleansing itself of the very parasites they introduced? They believed they had full control over the mechanisms, but the truth is, no system on earth exists without a higher authority overseeing it. Daniel's enemies once thought they'd sealed his fate by casting him into the lion's den. But God turned the trap into testimony, and it was they who were devoured. Daniel 6:24. Could the very stage your enemies built for your downfall be transforming into their exposure? We see this in real life all the time. Think about Meghan Markle, vilified in the press, misrepresented in interviews. But when she spoke her truth, the world saw something else entirely. The spotlight that once tried to isolate her ended up illuminating the very system that targeted her. Or consider Monica Lewinsky, once the punchline of jokes, now a fierce voice against public shaming and digital abuse. Her reflection was reframed. What about Brendan Fraser, blacklisted for speaking truth, only to return decades later to a standing ovation and global recognition? Why do these reversals keep happening? Because the mirror never lies. It only waits. Chosen one, how long have you waited for your name to be cleared? How many nights have you cried out, not just for justice, but for visibility, for the truth to finally be seen? That moment is here. The divine mirror has turned, and every mechanism they used to hurt you is now broadcasting their guilt. Proverbs 26:27 warns, "Whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them." This isn't poetic metaphor, it's prophecy in motion. The paperwork they submitted, the smear campaigns they plotted, the character assassinations they carried out, it's all coming back, documented and undeniable. And now, court documents are showing up in this very 7-day window we've been speaking of. Why now? Because the heavenly immune system has activated. And can you feel it? That divine reversal humming in the background of your life. Do you sense the power of your real family, the ones seated in high places, moving behind the scenes? Psalm 50 verse 10 reminds us, "For every animal of the forest is mine, and the cattle on 1,000 hills." Your true family lacks nothing. They don't just restore, they redeem. They don't just clear your name, they crown it. The same institutions your enemies once controlled are now staring directly at them. The same mirrors they twisted are now reflecting their own decay. And you're not just surviving, you're rising. The silence you kept is now your sword. The patience you practiced is now your proof. Chosen one, have you ever sensed that your enemies weren't just reacting, they were preparing? That behind their smiles they had scripts, alibis, explanations rehearsed to perfection, just in case the truth ever came knocking? Why do you think they worked so hard to get ahead of something you never even said? What were they so afraid of? It's because they knew. From the beginning, they knew that truth was on your side. They knew your silence wasn't ignorance, it was power under control. And so they scrambled. While you were healing, they were scheming. While you were recovering, they were rehearsing. They curated perceptions, planted narratives, manufactured evidence, and practiced excuses. But chosen one, here's what they failed to understand. You don't need to fight when reality itself is your witness. This next season is not about vengeance, it's about truth meeting timing. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." And now your season of divine confrontation has come. Not because you forced it, but because reality has finally caught up. The truth does not require your defense. It walks in uninvited, unshaken, and undeniable. You don't have to make announcements. The system is doing it for you. And here's the key your enemies missed. They trained for people, not for reality. They practiced responses for interviews, not for investigations. They wrote scripts for gossip, not for testimony under oath. They manipulated emotions, not facts. But reality, chosen one, isn't moved by charisma. It doesn't bow to peer pressure, doesn't care about social clout, can't be bribed or flattered. Proverbs 12:19 says, "Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment." That moment is up. Have you noticed how things are suddenly slipping through their fingers? How, even with all their control, the cracks are becoming too visible to patch? It's because truth has its own gravitational pull. And now that it has gathered enough weight, no illusion can stand against it. Your real family, yes, the one seated in heavenly places, has activated something greater than revenge. They've activated reality reinforcement. It's not personal, it's principle. This is a universal correction, not an emotional response. Think of the collapse of massive cover-ups in history. Watergate was maintained for years, until tapes, timelines, and inconsistencies surfaced and broke it wide open. Enron executives built a fortress of lies that eventually fell under the weight of their own documentation. Harvey Weinstein moved in the shadows of power for decades until hundreds of voices formed a pattern too synchronized to ignore. Chosen one, these stories don't just exist to fill headlines. They exist to show that no matter how much power someone has, truth has more. And what's fascinating is that your enemies, convinced of their untouchable status, grew sloppy. Have you wondered why they left behind so much evidence? Why their patterns became predictable? That's the blindness of arrogance. As 1 Corinthians 3:19 says, "For the wisdom of this world is foolishness in God's sight." Believing they were above correction, they grew bolder. Their fingerprints are everywhere now. Emails, wire transfers, surveillance, witness testimonies, text logs. Each piece alone may look minor, but together they create a constellation of intent that no lawyer, no denial, no spin can erase. Chosen one, your real family is not just wealthy in resources. They're wealthy in strategy, and that wealth is being used to uncover everything that was done in darkness. Every careless move they thought wouldn't matter has become a breadcrumb trail leading straight to the truth. It's no longer about you trying to prove your innocence. It's about the systems they trusted turning inward and documenting their guilt. And what if I told you this process didn't even begin with them? It began with you, with your presence, with your unshakable alignment with truth, with your refusal to lower your vibration to match theirs, with your integrity that could not be mimicked. Your essence disrupted their illusion. Your spiritual wealth activated a correction code in the system. And now, the mirror has turned, the gears are in motion, and the lie is dissolving under the weight of raw, unfiltered, divinely timed truth. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you." You're not doing this through confrontation, you're doing it through divine calibration. That's the strength of your position. You're not fighting for the truth, you are the truth, and the reality that once seemed silent is now roaring on your behalf. So, chosen one, ask yourself, what if your greatest weapon wasn't retaliation, but consistency? What if your wealth wasn't in revenge, but in alignment? Because while they were pouring their energy into manipulation, you were being prepared by your real family, rich not just in resources, but in justice, mercy, and timing. The confrontation is no longer coming. It's already here, and it's not you knocking on their door. It's truth, cold, objective, relentless. Their rehearsals can't save them now. Their alibis have expired, and the cosmic audit is underway. Stay grounded, chosen one. Stay silent when necessary. Stay righteous even when it's hard, because reality is speaking now, and reality speaks louder than any lie. As the layers continue peeling back, what once seemed like fragmented, isolated moments now lock into place like puzzle pieces, revealing a picture no longer deniable. Each move your enemies made, each calculated scheme they executed, left behind its own trace. They believed themselves to be meticulous, but the more successful they became in their deception, the more careless they grew. Like seasoned thieves emboldened by every undetected heist, they assumed they were untouchable. But the universe, unlike man, does not overlook. What if the things they assumed were hidden were actually preserved for this exact moment? Could the very confidence they used to mask their schemes now be the very thing that unmasks them? What they thought had been deleted still lives in encrypted backups and cloud-based archives. What they whispered in confidence has been etched into the minds of those they once manipulated, minds now turning away from them in quiet revolt. And what they tried to bury is now rising, not with vengeance, but with divine timing. Luke 8:17 reminds us, For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. This moment of unveiling is not random. It is precisely engineered by truth itself. You're witnessing something extraordinary, the emergence of undeniable patterns. One by one, the seemingly unimportant details, dates, phone records, overlapping timelines, digital fingerprints, are threading together to form a constellation so direct, so intricate, even those who once doubted you must now pause, not because you forced their eyes open, but because the evidence has become impossible to ignore. And when evidence becomes a voice of its own, who can silence it? Isn't it fascinating how divine justice rarely needs noise to be effective? It simply waits for the alignment of timing, people, and purpose. And now, those scattered breadcrumbs left across the trail of your opposition have converged. What was once a messy scatter of moments has become a straight line leading directly back to the source. It doesn't take a conspiracy theorist to recognize it. The beauty of divine exposure is in its simplicity. The truth always had everything it needed. What it lacked was timing. And now that timing has arrived. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, "He has made everything beautiful in its time." And indeed, what you're seeing now is the unfolding of beauty in justice. The system they used to silence you is now highlighting you. The web they spun for your entrapment is now catching their own footsteps. And still, you haven't had to orchestrate a single piece of this revelation. How is it that support begins to arrive just when you need it most? Could it be that the universe has been preparing others in the background the whole time? Support has begun to emerge in ways that defy explanation. Not because you rallied troops, but because truth magnetizes alignment. Like iron filings to a magnet, people of integrity are being drawn toward your cause, many of whom you've never met. They are appearing in boardrooms, courtrooms, and conversations you were never invited into. They are stepping into position without needing to be asked. Psalm 121:4 assures us, "Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep." That same divine vigilance has surrounded your life, chosen one, and now it's moving through others on your behalf. Think about the way the world rallied behind Amanda Knox when the truth about her wrongful conviction began to surface. How previously hesitant voices began speaking up, and international advocates stepped in, aligning from places no one expected. Or consider the digital paper trail left by Bernie Madoff, whose decades of fraud crumbled not because of one accuser, but because an undeniable pattern emerged. The weight of the truth eventually overtook the weight of the narrative. Even more recently, consider the whistleblower Frances Haugen, who exposed Facebook's internal knowledge of the harm it was causing. She didn't gather an army, she simply released information. The support that came rushing forward did so because truth naturally creates order and draws clarity. And now, the same energy surrounds you. So ask yourself, why are witnesses who were once silent suddenly remembering details? Why are documents reappearing that were long considered lost? Why is evidence resurfacing through the most unusual and seemingly accidental channels? Could it be that the divine system you're part of, the one your real family oversees, is guiding everything into position? Romans 2:16 proclaims, "This will take place on the day when God judges people's secrets through Jesus Christ." That day isn't far off, it's now. You were never meant to fight this battle alone. Your real family, the one rich in heavenly resources and infinite intelligence, has been safeguarding key pieces of your restoration long before you ever cried out for help. They've stationed people in high places, hidden support in plain sight, preserved truth in ways that couldn't be altered. What you're witnessing is their strategy, not your striving. Chosen one, stay present in this moment. You're not chasing justice, it's chasing you. You're not hunting for proof. It's arriving on its own. And every new connection, every aligned witness, every precise timing is evidence that you belong to a divine family that plans like kings and protects like warriors. The tide is shifting, and not with chaos, but with divine order. Keep watching, keep standing, because the next wave of truth won't just defend you, it will crown you. And now, as the truth unfolds and the system corrects itself, something even more profound becomes clear. You were never truly alone, not even for a second. While visible opposition surrounded you on every side, there were hidden allies working in silence, positioned like guardians in the shadows. You couldn't always see them, but they were there, moving pieces, protecting timelines, and preserving your destiny with surgical precision. Doesn't that make you wonder, just how many times were you protected without even knowing it? Every betrayal you endured, every false accusation launched against you, was not just permitted by divine intelligence, it was repurposed. What if your enemies unknowingly acted as agents of your transformation? Just as ancient alchemists knew that gold could only be formed through specific temperatures and rare catalysts, so too was your refinement dependent on the perfect combination of pressure, isolation, and contradiction. Psalm 66, 10 through 12, captures this beautifully. For you, God, tested us. You refined us like silver. We went through fire and water, but you brought us to a place of abundance. You were never meant to crumble under that fire. You were meant to emerge, and emerge you did, not as who you once were, but as something stronger, sharper, unshakable. The very heat that was designed to consume you only revealed the substance you were truly made of. Like coal compressed into diamond, your spirit endured and evolved. Could it be that what others tried to extinguish was the very thing God was using to forge your voice, your wisdom, your impact? Those days of forced silence were not empty. They were sacred incubation. Every time you were shut out, heaven opened something deeper within you. The crucible didn't kill your voice, it amplified it. And now, your words don't just sound, they resonate. Isaiah 61:7 speaks directly to this. Instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance. What's returning to you isn't just what was stolen, it's what was multiplied while you waited. Real-life history confirms this principle again and again. Think about Bethany Hamilton, the surfer who lost her arm to a shark attack. Instead of quitting, she returned stronger, competed professionally, and inspired millions with her courage. Or Maya Moore, the WNBA superstar who stepped away from basketball at her peak, not to rest, but to help free an innocent man from prison. Her sacrifice led to victory, not just for him, but for an entire community seeking justice. Or consider Nick Vujicic, born without arms or legs, once told he'd never have a normal life. Yet today, he speaks to millions with unmatched impact, his physical limitations transformed into spiritual power. And now, chosen one, the same is being said of you. You were their target, but now you are the testimony. Have you noticed how the very people who once doubted you are circling back, asking for your insight, your story, your truth? How long will it take before they realize that silencing you only made your message louder? Your voice is no longer muffled, it is magnetic, and it draws not only attention, but transformation. Those doors that mysteriously closed are now reopening with expansion. The relationships poisoned against you are clearing because the spiritual haze has lifted. Resources that were once tightly blocked are now flowing with divine ease. But why now? Why not before? Because now the environment has finally matched your evolution. Joel 2:25 echoes this exact timing. I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten. The repayment was never in doubt. It was simply waiting for the moment you could hold what was rightfully yours. Do you realize what this means? You're not just restored, you're repositioned. The kingdom didn't just give you back your portion, it expanded your territory. The influence you carry now is broader, deeper, and more potent than anything you had before the trial. What was meant to shrink you has enlarged you. What was designed to bury you has planted you in richer soil. And still, there's more. The experience you've endured has given you a wisdom that cannot be taught in classrooms or downloaded from books. It is experiential insight, earned, not borrowed. This is what makes you so dangerous in the realm of truth. When you speak now, people feel it. They know you've lived it. Can theoretical knowledge ever compete with lived fire? Number, because only those who've walked through both the shadow and the light can carry truth with surgical precision. Revelation 12:11 says, "They triumphed by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony." Your scars are no longer signs of what happened to you. They are signposts of who you've become. And for those still trapped in their own storms, you are now a lighthouse. What does it mean to become someone's lighthouse? It means your very presence realigns their direction. Your survival offers them a map. Your journey, once full of chaos, now offers sacred coordinates. Every attempt to define your conclusion has now become the beginning of your influence. They wanted this to be your last chapter, but heaven rewrote the ending. Now you speak with the weight of fire-tested authority. Now you move with a precision only pain can teach. And now, the kingdom of your real family, the one rich in divine power and eternal purpose, is unveiling you to the world as a force of unstoppable light. And now, everything begins to reverse, not through vengeance, not through manipulation, but through the divine precision of cosmic law. The very mechanisms that were once weaponized against you have now locked onto their original handlers. The slander they spread, the traps they built, the surveillance they manipulated, each of these tools now returns with exact calibration. How can one outrun a force that responds not with emotion but with law-bound inevitability? You're not watching a coincidence, you're witnessing divine reciprocation. Galatians 6:7 says, "Do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." There is no randomness in what's unfolding. The boomerang they threw is returning, not vaguely, not partially, but with mathematical accuracy. This is a cosmic equation balancing itself, and every action they took is now being measured against the very outcomes they tried to avoid. Have you noticed how those who once accused you now speak in circles, unsure of their own narratives? How their words, once sharp and confident, now sound strained and defensive. Their credibility is collapsing under the weight of their own inconsistencies. Isn't it poetic? The accusations they launched to discredit you have now turned the spotlight inward, exposing every crack in their integrity. Proverbs 26:27 warns, "Whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them." That stone has begun its return. You once stood alone, targeted, scrutinized, watched. But now, the very authorities they turned against you are reallocating their energy and resources, not to investigate you, but to investigate them. Why? Because universal justice doesn't respond to who shouts the loudest. It responds to who aligns with truth. And when truth is threatened, when manipulation endangers core structures, when the innocent suffer beyond threshold, something activates at the deepest layer of cosmic balance. Isn't it incredible how this shift didn't come from your effort, but from the system itself? You didn't push this forward. You didn't lobby for revenge. You simply endured. And now justice has arrived with surgical precision. Like water finding its level, like gravity anchoring all things to center, the system corrects itself. Romans 12:19 affirms this. "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, It is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. What's even more remarkable is the thoroughness of this reversal. Not a single detail is overlooked. Not a single strategy is left untouched. Every participant in the campaign against you, especially the architects, are now under the lens of divine examination. Could this be why everything is accelerating? Why what would normally take years is happening in days? Why information is leaking? Witnesses are flipping. Files are being unsealed. We've seen this kind of sudden reversal before. Think about the fall of Elizabeth Holmes, whose company Theranos was once valued at $9 billion. For years, she dodged scrutiny until truth erupted through insider testimonies and internal documents. Or consider the unraveling of Harvey Weinstein's empire. His influence once protected him until enough truth collided and turned public sentiment and the system against him. Or even Enron, whose fraud was buried under polished financial reports until a single investigation cracked the facade. In each case, once the scales tipped, the fall was swift, undeniable, and thorough. What's happening around you now is no different. The deceit crossed lines, the manipulation breached sacred boundaries, and innocent people, you included, suffered unjustly. So the system responded, not with mercy, but with motion. Isaiah 30:18 reminds us, "For the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all who wait for him. You waited, and now your waiting is being rewarded with visible, unstoppable movement." This 7-day window, which seemed symbolic at first, is now revealing its power. It's not just prophetic, it's functional. This is what acceleration looks like when heaven is involved. What used to take months is now happening overnight. Delays are disappearing. Investigations are opening faster. Evidence is surfacing before it can be destroyed. Witnesses are coming forward before they can be silenced. Have you ever seen a system work so precisely without your touch? Doesn't it make you wonder just how many layers your real family controls behind the scenes? That family, the one rich not only in spirit but in influence, has been operating with divine restraint until now. And now that justice has been initiated, nothing can halt it. This isn't just about stopping harm, it's about proving cause and consequence. No one will be able to say this was luck, or random, or just how things turned out. The connection between what was done and what is now happening will be so direct, so irrefutable, that even the doubters will have no ground left to stand on. And still, you haven't raised your hand to strike. You haven't demanded vengeance. You let your silence speak, and now the universe is echoing it back in action. Deuteronomy 32:4 proclaims, "He is the rock. His works are perfect, and all his ways are just." And truly, what's unfolding is not just payback, it's perfected balance. The story didn't end with the reversal, it evolved into something greater. As truth continues to rise to the surface, something extraordinary begins to unfold. The witnesses, not the ones they chose, trained or anticipated. No, these are the unexpected ones, the overlooked, the silenced, the intimidated. These are the people your opponents never imagined would become voices of truth, and yet now they're stepping forward with fragments of a story too vast to be denied. Isn't it fascinating how every interaction leaves an imprint, how every person they manipulated, coerced or deceived unknowingly became carriers of a testimony that, when linked together, exposes a larger orchestration? Could the very people they assumed were too afraid or too loyal now be the ones God is using to piece together the bigger picture? Each person holds a piece, a sliver of truth, a memory of a conversation, a contradiction they noticed, a document they quietly saved. These aren't coordinated campaigns. This is cosmic choreography. Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. And that purpose is now manifesting through a network of voices that cannot be suppressed. Voices begin to rise through unexpected platforms, anonymous reports, last-minute testimonies, conversations overheard and suddenly remembered. People who were once fearful find strength. Those who were manipulated begin to see clearly, and those who were silent now speak, not out of revenge, but from alignment with a higher law. Could it be that the system itself is making sure that every piece of truth finds its proper outlet? History has always rewarded the unexpected witness. Think of Jeffrey Wigand, the former tobacco executive who risked everything to expose industry secrets, sparking massive reforms. Or Christine Blasey Ford, who stepped into public scrutiny to speak her truth despite enormous pressure. Or more recently, Tyler Schultz, the Theranos whistleblower who went against his powerful family ties to ensure truth came to light. In each case, the most powerful testimonies didn't come from expected places. They came from quiet observers with undeniable insight. And now, chosen one, the same is happening in your world. The very people who were drawn into the campaign against you are now forming a circle of light, unknowingly activated by divine timing. What began as fragments of memories and scattered details is now converging into undeniable testimony. Could it be that this was never just about you being seen, but about a complete system being corrected? As these voices align, as evidence converges, as timelines match and documents resurface, the reckoning becomes unavoidable. And when it arrives, often in the form of court documents, formal reports, or recorded statements, it isn't just a bureaucratic event. It's a spiritual signal, a sign that the cosmic accounting is complete. Luke 12:2-3 affirms it clearly. There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. And here's what sets this apart. The very system they used to attack you is now exposing them. Every lie they filed, every gate they closed, every ally they bribed, those mechanisms are turning on them, not by your hands, but by design. What was corrupted is now returning to function. The same offices they once controlled now see clearly. Why? Because truth has reclaimed its seat. Psalm 33:5 says, "The Lord loves righteousness and justice. The earth is full of his unfailing love." This is that justice. This is that love, moving through systems. The fallout isn't private, it's public, because the harm they tried to do to your name was never done in silence. The reckoning comes with precision, and yes, with visibility. What they intended to happen behind closed doors is now happening in front of witnesses. The exposure is thorough, not to shame you, but to show you how deeply you were protected. But more than that, something deeper is occurring. The world around you is changing. Your environment is shifting, not just back to how it was, but into something better, something that actually matches your spiritual weight and divine assignment. Romans 8:18 declares, "I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us." What's being revealed now is your glory, not man-made, not borrowed, earned through endurance. The false world built around you is falling away, and the new one emerging is rooted in truth, aligned with your divine wisdom, and perfectly scaled to your actual purpose. Resources begin to reflect your mission. Doors that open now match the power of your voice. Your influence expands, not as a reward, but as a requirement for where you're being positioned. You're no longer trying to fit into rooms you've outgrown. Now, the rooms are being built to hold who you've become. And why does all this matter on a universal scale? Because when you, chosen one, are rightly placed, the entire system benefits. The flow returns, the channels clear, the spiritual traffic jams caused by injustice dissolve. This isn't about ego, it's about divine function. Just as organs only thrive when they're in the correct part of the body, You're now being placed exactly where your presence unlocks divine movement for others. Ephesians 2:10 speaks to this. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. So what now? Walk boldly into these new openings. Speak with the authority you've earned. Don't wait for permission. You already carry the seal of heaven. Use the insight forged in fire. Use the power given to you through pressure. Use the influence that comes not from clout, but from calling. What you carry is rare, it's royal, it's real. The mantle on your shoulders now isn't just symbolic, it's sacred. You've been entrusted with something bigger than survival. You've been entrusted with placement, and through it, divine restoration continues not only for you, but for the systems around you. Beloved chosen one, now that the full picture has been revealed, it's clear. What you've endured was never meant to diminish you. It was meant to crown you. Those who can see with spiritual sight, those whose hearts are aligned with truth, recognize it instantly. You walk differently now. You speak differently. You carry an authority that wasn't handed to you by man, but forged in the fire of divine testing. This isn't influence that comes from popularity. It's power that comes from being refined by heaven. And this power isn't loud. It doesn't beg to be seen. It simply is. It carries weight. When you speak, your words land with force, not because you try to impress, but because you've lived what others only theorize about. Your voice carries wisdom that cuts through confusion and brings clarity to chaos. Your presence alters atmospheres. Have you noticed how tension breaks when you enter a room? How people pause when you speak, even if they don't understand why? The reason is simple. You were chosen to carry what others could not, and everything that once came against you, the rejection, the silence, the exile, was precisely what activated the ancient spiritual codes hidden inside your DNA. The pressure didn't break you, it revealed you, and in doing so, it unlocked latent abilities, divine intelligence, and strategic insight that were reserved specifically for this generation, for this moment, for this calling. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to build. You were meant to bring order where there was chaos, to restore what was broken, to speak truth where lies once ruled. The universe handed you this authority not to exalt you, but because you've proven you won't misuse it. You've shown restraint, you've shown faith, and most importantly, you've shown integrity. This influence was not given to feed your ego. It was entrusted to you because humanity desperately needs what's burning inside you. The world doesn't need another showman. It needs someone who carries the real fire, someone who can't be bought, someone who was trained in private to lead in public, and that someone is you. So do not shrink, chosen one. Do not downplay what you carry. This is not the time to pretend to be small. You didn't go through all of that to return to the background. You were not refined to remain silent. Assume your authority, not with arrogance, but with conviction. Not for vanity, but for destiny. The mantle you wear now is real, and the ones who tried to strip it from you only ensured that it would be sealed even tighter. To every soul who has walked through this message with me, thank you. Whether this is your first time hearing words like these, or you've known in your spirit that this truth has been chasing you your whole life, your presence here is no accident. The energy between us, though separated by distance, is connected by something eternal. And I want you to know you are deeply, profoundly appreciated. To all of you who have supported this message through super thanks, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your generosity allows these truths to reach more chosen ones around the world who are still looking for confirmation of who they are. Your gift is not just a donation, it's a divine echo. And even if you're not able to give financially, your presence, your attention, your spiritual agreement here. It means everything. You're already contributing by carrying this light forward. May every chosen one who reads or hears these words walk boldly into their calling. May your voice carry authority. May your steps be divinely guided. May your influence touch every territory meant for your feet. May you never again doubt your worth. May the heavens confirm your alignment through peace, provision, and divine acceleration. I speak overflow over your life, not just in finances, but in wisdom, revelation, and real support. I declare protection over your purpose and discernment in every connection. And above all, I pray that you walk with unshakable confidence, knowing that you are not just seen, you are entrusted, because you are chosen and your real family. They're not just watching, they're cheering you on, empowering you, and sending everything you need for the mission ahead. It's time.